voice very much today. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat. Where should this camera go? You can see that nice big hole next to Poor Kings of Steel. My other favorite game, 2001, one of the greatest of games. Hello, Internet. How's it going? Ugh. I like you so much. I've pulled a chair all the way over to this desk so I can sit down. What's going on? How's everyone doing? It's Tuesday, Thursday. It's Thursday. It's always Thursday when we do this. But no matter how many years I've spent on this planet, I always have to think if it's Tuesday or Thursday when it is one of those days. English is weird. Anyways, what's going on? It was really cold last weekend. It was pretty fun. Oh, look at that camera. Which one is it? This one? You just got to watch me wipe my eyes. Hi. Oh, you can look at the bench. Here, look at this screwdriver. A bunch of Southern people had absolute mental breakdowns when it got cold last weekend. It was kind of humorous. It's not that humorous when like people's pipes are exploding, because why build things to a standard here when you could save like $200 and not insulate your pipes? But whatever. Am I a hand model? I should be. Look at these hands. They're tough and dexterous. I had my hot water pipe freeze. That was pretty annoying. But it was a Christmas miracle when my hot water pipe unfroze on Christmas because I left it open all day. And that hot water pushed itself through the ice. It was very magical. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Colin. Hello, Encore's Arcade, who was in here at the first message of the day. Yeah? It wasn't that cold. It was only 18F. So what, like -4C, -5C or something? Really wasn't that cold. But we didn't get any snow. I felt actually pretty cheated. But what you gonna do? Dent0123 says, I've agreed to meet some people for New Year's Eve party, and I'm wondering if there'll be any party monsters there. You know what? You could bring your own party monsters. It's a little too late now, but you can buy the little sock puppet or finger puppet dudes. You can bring your own party monsters. You can be the party monster that you've always wanted to be. Dang. Colin said -20F with wind chill. Yeah, it was saying like 10 degrees with wind chill here, but we just didn't leave the house the whole weekend. It was fine. It's just South Carolina cold. It's humorous sometimes. I just wonder if they'll jump around like they do on the machine. Well, if you put them on your fingers like, you know, like that, and then you go like, they'll do all sorts of jumping. No clue what I'm doing for New Year's yet. You know, Dragger, you don't have to do anything for New Year's. You know what I'm gonna do for New Year's? Like, pick my wife up from the airport really late and probably play video games and drink whiskey all day, but not too much where I won't be able to pick her up from the airport. Happy New Year's to you as well. Thank you for the well wishes. 12C. Oh, that's nice. 12C is nice weather. You should go out to the beach. It's warmed up considerably here. I think our lowest temperature will be in like the 60s or something this week, which is just so crazy after things were frozen last week. But oh well, I'm glad that none of my pipes exploded, etc., etc. So, anyways, what about pinball? Pinball's exciting. Did you see that Stern Pinball is going to release and show imagery of the super fancy, super cool James Bond 60th anniversary edition pinball game. I was trying to make sure I got the name totally correct. I think they're calling it the James Bond 60th. Really excited to see that. January 3rd at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES. Where are you located in SC? Columbia, South Carolina, the capital. The city that everyone's driven through but no one's been to, because why would you come here? There's nothing to do here. Wow, it's pretty hot in Mississippi, holy moly. Either way, yes. Let's do some pinball stuff today. I don't think there's any other important pinball news. I can't think of anything. What else happened in pinball in the last week? There was a code update for James Bond, which was pretty cool. We did what they do. Released a code update that like added a few villains, but it changed a lot of like the video assets, or added a lot of video assets, which was really neat. Jack Danger was doing a stream last night showcasing some of the changes. So if you're interested, that showed off a lot. We got to see how good Jack is at death saving, as always. I like a good death save stream. That's pretty fun. I'm trying to remember where we left off on this thing. I think, if I remember right, it worked. I think we got like super excited and it just worked, which is great. I think what I'm going to do today is like just part of my overall, we're going to work on a pinball machine, like order of operations, if you will, is I really do like to get all of the electronics work done. So at least once we've gotten done in the head, then we can go down into the game. The reasoning for that is you know, it was like if you were to do all the physical work and the playfield work and stuff like that, there's really no point in doing that if then you might need to continue going back and forth. I think like the order of operations, or the way that I was taught and the way I continue to do things, is like to try to eliminate having to do things twice, right? Like we want to get things out and back in and try to complete them in one nice fell swoop, to not have to waste time doing things over and over. You know, like if we were going to diagnose a board, we really want to try to, it's best, it's really great, and it's a good grand slam if you can figure out what's wrong with it, remove that board from your pinball game, and then do the repairs, etc., and then put it back in and not have to keep taking it out, in, out, in. So that is what we're going to kind of try to go through. We've taken the power supply out, we recapped it, we verified all the voltages, or 2 thumbs up, and now the thing boots up. So we know we've got a good power supply. We know we have a working computer and sound section. We checked that, which was super cool. And now we have the interconnect board. We have a lot of burnt connections there. We've done this a bunch. Sorry, this is going to be like chopping wood, but a lot of pinball repair is chopping wood. You have to do the same things over and over and over again as you work through multiple different games. So let's work on the GI connectors. When we have that out, we'll be able to inspect that board for damage, look for some cracked solder connections and stuff like that. I think once we repair that, we can put that back in, remove the glass, take a look at the game and see what the condition of the actual mechanical bits of the game are. And then we can plug the solenoids back in and let's see if the computer's driving everything. It looks okay. A lot of the time when a transistor's bad, it looks very bad. But let's try to get that setup done. So. There's a mode where you pet a kitty over and over again. Yes, it was cool. What's wrong with this pin? Do we know? We really don't know 100% yet. Electronically, we think it's working. Okay, so that's where we'll start. Let's get into the game. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with the game. It's just an unused, unloved game that needs work, right? It needs to be shopped out. We need to make it work. As we continue to progress through the game, we will explore and find everything that does not work and rectify that. But let's take a look. Let's bring this camera a little closer, and then we'll start doing some swaps. Emoto will be here eventually. She's just doing something else right now. So, recapped power supply. Happy? Wait, where's the camera? I'm gonna do a thumbs up. Yay! We have a working computer. The computer is running the program. And not only is it running the program, the sound section is running the sound program, and then the sound board is also running that sound. It's great. That's fantastic. I hate messing with sound. It is frustrating, but that's all good. We haven't tested the auxiliary driver board yet. That we won't really be able to check until we are sure that like driving playfield devices is safe and won't cause problems. That's why we're going to lift the playfield up and make sure that we don't have solenoids hanging or things like clearly broken that can cause any of these drivers to explode. We don't want to do that. But we've got our interconnect board here, and it's pretty rough. Normal, the AC input pins are just all sorts of cattywampus and broken. We've got burnt out general illumination heading to the head. Is this the head plug? I think it is. Yeah, that's the plug going to the head. So we want to fix that. The playfield one doesn't look as badly burnt, but we're going to want to replace all those things and then end up replacing the incandescent bulbs with LEDs, or at least a good swath of them, so we can eliminate that from ever happening again. I guess the only other thing we definitely would end up doing on the computer would be putting a Ramtron in, an NVRAM, into the RAM slot, which we've done before. We did that on my roller games a long time ago when we first started this show. It's a little bit involved on the Williams System 11 games. I think System 11 B and C, I don't know if you have to get a different one on A and standard, but you can run a 6264 RAM on a System 11 B and C computer. This is a B. We've got the extra spots here for the longer RAM, so to install that we'll have to desolder this chip, install a socket, move this jumper over so the computer knows it's addressing a larger RAM. So it's a bit involved, but it's difficult. It's the most difficult NVRAM installation, but it's not bad if you're used to working on things like these. But anyway, let's get this interconnect board out. What's the chat saying? This MPU does not have an LED that blinks 7 times when you turn it on. The Bally games do. This one goes through a quicker checkup. I think the diagnostics and blanking LEDs come on at the same time. And then in proper operation, I think the diagnostic LED goes out and then the blanking LED blinks. There are diagnostic LEDs, though, that will give you an idea of what's going on if it does have a problem. You've got blinks and flashes here, and it will blink at a certain pace to tell you if one of the devices is not passing its self-diagnostic test. We're going to unplug things first. It's easier that way. All of these connections are keyed, so you really, unless it makes you feel better, you can identify them by taking photos or by marking them somehow, but they are all keyed and will only go into one position. My arms are going to block the camera, but sorry, that's how it has to be. So this interconnect board was a, it seems kind of annoying. It is annoying, but it was a really useful thing for operators and people who used to own these games before they went into our living rooms, because it allowed you to separate the head from the game or to remove the playfield a lot easier than it would be to disconnect everything off of the computer, perhaps. So If you wanted to separate the head, all of this could be left plugged in, just everything going down to the cabinet could be unplugged from the bottom, and then the unit could be separated. So here's a really burnt up GI plug. Let's see if we can get it off without destroying the entire thing. Okay, that came out as one. It just makes it easier to repin these things when you get them out all as one. That way we know where each wire goes when we make a new connector. Kind of the same thing with the AC input, but kind of know how these go. Brutal. These are kind of a pain in the butt because you do need to end up shoving 2 wires into one pin. We've done that also on this show. It's not ideal, but that's how it has to happen. It utilizes a pass-through, so if you look at this, let me bring it a little closer, and we'll probably do this today. You've got like yellow will go on 2 pins, so you've got yellow comes in, passes through, and then is connected to the pin next to it, and then the next connector will be yellow-white, which passes through and then goes to the next pin over. So they kind of, yeah. It's a little bit of a pain. This was very easy to do with these insulation displacement connectors. A little bit harder with the crimp and stuff, but not impossible. Ugh. Those are original boards. The external Grimmy, yes, they are original boards. Hello, Digerati Ohm. It is a pain to remove. It's annoying. It does. Adding more connections means more points for failure. That is why a lot of people will ask me, it's like, man, I hate soldering. Why don't they just put connectors on coils and then you can just quick disconnect them? I don't like that. It is, look, you can do it right and that's fine, but you have to remember when there's kind of like 3 reasons why that was not done. Williams did kind of rectify that later in the last couple games. They used coils that had lugs that were the same size as like a spade connector, right? Well, things that you could slide together. So to change a coil out, you would just have to slide the connector onto the new coil and you were all good. No soldering required. So Molex connectors, anytime you add a connector, that just adds another failure point to the circuit, right? Connectors can go bad. You can get a bad connection, a worse connection. Soldering a wire to a coil gives you a very solid connection and a reliable connection if the person doing the soldering knows what they're doing. When you add connectors, it causes failure points. So that is kind of the one issue with this board, is it does create a whole new set of connections and failure points, but really at the end of the day, the benefits do outweigh those things for ease of transportation and moving, definitely. Williams did and was always trying to make games serviceable or more reliable for operators. This was a huge problem in the 80s, right? Like pinball or video games were better, earned better, were received and loved by operators because they took very little maintenance. You take it out of the box, you plug it in, and the coin box magically is full. You don't have to take the glass off and unstick a ball. You don't have to take the glass off and replace a snapped rubber band. You don't have to do actual maintenance on the game. When the flippers start to wear out, the gameplay is so much worse when those things are present, right? When things are broken or starting to wear out. Video games were not like that. Maybe switches on a joystick, unstick a coin jam because kids were sticking all sorts of coins in those things. I don't know. So Williams was trying to always make things more serviceable. This is one of those things, an interconnect board. Another thing, adding diodes to the diodes weren't necessary to be on the coils anymore. Diodes were now on the board. And in those last couple games, they were making it so you did not really need to solder coils onto the solder wires onto the coils anymore. I don't know. I mean, it's nice, honestly. It's annoying as like a service person because unless you're like absolutely cognizant of it, I don't carry a lot of quick disconnect coils in my kit, you know. But if someone is like, hey, I've got Monster Bash, or hey, I've got you know, Circus Voltaire, I need you to come work on it. Well, then I might, you know, remember to bring some quick disconnect coils, but yeah, I don't know. Anywho. Soft-boiled egg. 2 orders this week. I'm bad at repairs and I'm burning through fuses as fast as I can order them. Well, thank you for ordering from us. I'm sorry you are having to go through fuses like they're going out of style, but one thing you could try doing is making a circuit breaker. You can buy small amperage circuit breakers from specialty outlets or electronic stores, and you can create your own circuit breakers. That way you don't need to go through fuses. I carry a bunch of them in my parts kit. 1 amp, 3 amp, 4 amp, 5 amp, 8 amp, 15 amp, for all sorts of different circuits that are commonly blown. That way you don't need to blow through fuses. Good, I'm glad you love fuses. Fuses are great. Oh my gosh, yeah, Daniel's talking about... Bonsai Run is honestly a horrible game to work on. It's very, very insane, but it's really clever how they got that package to fit together. It's really amazing. I'm sorry, my phone has buzzed multiple times here, and I'm just gonna double check really quick. Sorry, internet. Sorry, okay. It's just people asking me about pinball parts, so. Anyways, make the phone go away. So, what do we have here? We have an interconnect board. Let's look at this thing really quick. Oh, here, let's switch cameras, because you don't need to see me while I'm doing this. What camera's best for that? Wait, which one's which? What do you guys like better? Would you rather have like the center be closer and I need to kind of move the close camera, where in the top right you would maybe have like more of an overview, or would you rather see the overview in the big screen? This is not like the most exciting or intricate of work, but I'm just curious what you guys like. Generally I'd swap them. I'd rather have the overview in the big bit and like a close-up in the smaller screen, but if you guys think this sucks, I'll get up and I'll change it. Sometimes I don't think to move the cameras enough, and I know that. Overview big. Okay, Dragger said it first, Daniel, so I'm swapping them. Emoto will be back soon, and we can swap them back. So I kind of like this better. I think more of like having a camera on top of me as opposed to... What shirt do I have on? Oh, okay. It's not too vulgar. Oh no. I ripped off my microphone. Ugh, I don't want to get my hoodie all super dirty, so I'm going to yank this thing off while we do some soldering. Now I'm all staticky. I'm going to shock myself on all sorts of metal objects before we sit down. The interconnect is really simple. It takes in signals, and it's like literally a pass-through down to different connectors. So, for example, we've got switch rows and columns here. If we look at that set of traces, right, they come in here, and then they pass through all sorts of headers down to the bottom. It's a very simple board. It is literally an interconnect. It just it allows you to have shorten your harnesses. There's some resistors, big resistors on this board. Those are the resistors for flash lamps. If any of you guys are familiar with some earlier System 11 games, let's think like games like F14 or Pinbot, they had these big resistor boards underneath the playfield that were just this, but they broke all the time. Lots of heavy resistors and slamming, around pinball devices, etc. Resistors would break off. They put the resistors on the interconnect board for the flash lamps. You've got a bunch of fuses here for your general illumination. It fuses each of the strings. Most Williams games use 4 strings of GI, and that's what those are. Daniel says fire as well. So a lot of those earlier games used those big resistor boards. This was just repackaging them in places that made sense. You've got your flipper and other switches here. These little chips are called an opto isolator. What they can do is it's one way to hook like maybe a high voltage signal into a low voltage signal. You've basically got like an opto pair in those little chips, and what those can do is read when the flipper switches open and close. Those are high voltage, but they do not introduce voltage into the other bit of the circuit because it is an opto. Kind of neat. That's what those are there for. And that's it. Really, there's nothing else on this board. Just a bunch of connectors that can crack and need love, and we're going to have to go through all of them and try to repair them. So, why is the sticker on top of some of the resistors on the left? So that's the serial number. Let's see if this is the original interconnect board. 280390. 280390. Yep. So this is the original board. The computer has the original also, 280390. So all of these boards are original to this game, even the power supply. That's interesting. That's actually kind of uncommon, but it's not important, and it doesn't make a game like worth more. It's just a lot of the times when operators would have a bummer game, they just go yank another board from something else to get their top earning game working or something. So you have the model number here on the small camera, which is out of focus, but the model number for this game is 2011, and then you've got the serial number right here. I'm not going to judge you. I don't care how bad you are. You're learning, and you care enough to try, so it doesn't matter how bad you are. Yes, I mean that is a novice mistake. That's a bad mistake, but you learn something, right? Get a manual or use a manual online. If you're going to work on fixing your World Cup soccer or dog soccer, that's what I refer to it as. Get a manual. You'll want it. The manual will tell you the value for all those fuses. Definitely not all of those fuses are 3 amps. They vary a lot. Don't replace fuses if you don't have to. There is literally no reason to replace a fuse if the old one is still good. Fuses are a very unique, or they're an awesome component because they're either good or they're not. When they're not good, you can replace them. There's really almost zero reason for you to replace a fuse if it's not bad. But that's the thing. Look, you're trying, right? It's like, man, maybe this is a good idea. I should do it. You have best intentions. That's fantastic. So I'm glad that you're trying. That was a kind of a rookie mistake, but you learned from your mistake, and that's really all that matters, man. If you can't learn from your mistakes, then that's when people are not good at fixing things. But you have to make mistakes to learn. I'm gonna grab some solder here. I need my desoldering iron pump. Actually, I've got one in my bench. I'll just use the small guy here. We'll need some flux. These are all things we'll need to work on this. Since these connections here are particularly awful, we will need to use a lot of flux to get these old pins out of the board. These are really bad. TNT Amusements. Hello, Todd. Yes, please advise, or please read Todd Tuckey's comment there. That is what I should have followed that up with, because that is extremely important, especially if you get a game that's brand new to you, is to check for those fuse values to be correct. It's really, really common for someone to blow a fuse and be like, well, hell, I have this one in my toolbox. I just want the game to work. I'm going to throw it in. Fuses are valued at specific values for a reason. They need to be that value to protect the device that drives the device or the actual device itself. So Yes, no. Todd Tuckey's YouTube channel is a gift from the pinball gods, and it's amazing how much effort Todd puts into that channel. I'm a huge fan. I've been watching Todd for a long time too, and it's always amazing. So let's address the problem area first, and then we will move on. I think we're going to replace all of it. That we need to, let's see. I forget which ones are which. So this is AC input. This is our general illumination power to the insert. Insert is pinball manufacturing company speak for the backglass illumination, right? The insert. Then you've got your general illumination to the playfield. We've got a general illumination to the cabinet, which is what carries voltage to our coin door, generally. And then we've got power to lower playfield, but I think that is... I think both of those are used. Oh wait, no, the power to the lower playfield is like literally power to the playfield. Double checking what we had disconnected here. Yeah, no, that doesn't involve the general illumination circuit. 100%. That connector is pretty grody though. I'm going to replace it. What we're looking for, let's take a look at what we would constitute as a grody connector. Why do these burn up? I'm going to talk, this is the easy part. You guys have seen this a million times. We're adding flux. We're going to pull the pins out manually so we don't tear traces. Then we will suck the hole dry. Everyone can snicker now. And then we will solder a new header in. This is the safest way to do this without causing damage. So let's start with the, we'll start with the AC coming in. What causes this? Incandescent lamps draw a high amount of current. Remember, pinball games were not meant to last for 50 years. These were designed to work, do their job, earn their money, then be taken off of service, after living a nice long life of kicking balls around and making people smile. So as these games sit on for a long time, these incandescent lamps pull a lot of current. These are kind of undervalued for the amount of current that they draw, but it works. And what happens is through that draw of a high amount of current, one byproduct of that is heat. Heat starts to accumulate, and not only once it starts to heat up like that, and cause like melting and bits like that, it starts to tarnish the pins. The pins lose their plating. Let's examine one of these pins that I yank out. This one might focus better. No. They're supposed to be shiny. This is a 30-something-year-old pin. This is a brand new pin. I'm going to need to wait for a moto to get back and we can focus, but brand new ones are extremely shiny. When they get hot, they start to lose their plating. They start to not be so shiny. There is a magical scientific principle of shiny, will transmit or carry current better than not shiny. And when they start to get tarnished like that, it starts to build up a bit more resistance, right? It doesn't carry that current as easy. And it just turns into a nasty snowball effect, right? Where heat creates tarnish creates more resistance means more heat means more melting and destruction of these connectors. This is not necessarily indicative of anything being bad other than the connectors themselves. This is a very well-known problem on older games. The way to fix this is exactly what we're doing. We're removing all of these tarnished components and replacing them. So the reason I'm looking at some of these and being like, yeah, that's tarnished, that's bad, we're going to replace it, is that in and of itself is, if we were to put things back together on still tarnished components, we would run the risk of causing this issue to persist. So that's why we're getting rid of all this crap. We're going to uninstall these headers. We're going to install new headers. We're going to repin those connectors. We're going to put new, nice, shiny pins to mate with the new shiny headers, and we will have a perfect, wonderful, bright general illumination socket moving forward, or circuit moving forward. Does that kind of make sense, like the correlation between these two things? And what we'll do, I'm a big fan and proponent of this, is what we'll do once we get these repaired is we will install LED lamps for the general illumination. And LEDs draw almost no current compared to the incandescent lamps. And this problem will never happen again. I'll look at the chat in just a sec. I'm just trying to suck the pads clean. Interesting. So Todd says that when he switches out all of the general illumination to LEDs, that he will lower the fuse value because you're drawing a lot less current. That does make a lot of sense. Thank you for joining us, Soft-Boiled Egg. I'm glad you're here, mate. Kyle, the plating is gone. Yeah, the plating is an important thing. Where's my Hacko? Well, I'm using my Hacko, which model is this? The 888. It's my favorite bench iron. One of my favorite bench irons I have. It's also semi-portable, so I'll bring this sometimes if I have to do a lot of board work at a customer's house. But this job, I don't need my desoldering iron for this. The desoldering iron is not necessary to do this kind of work. I prefer using a hand pump and just this, because I like to manually extract the pins so as I don't rip the fillets out of the board. I guess the desoldering iron would help at this point, but it's more work to get it set up. I prefer to keep my desoldering iron just for like board work, like fine board work, not this kind of board work. Okay, not so bad. Let's do a one-to-one swap out. So we've got a clean set of holes here. We've removed old solder. We've removed the old header and all of the pins. What we'll do is I'll grab one of our 156 headers here and we'll cut it down to size. All of the original ones have locking ramps. This one that I grabbed does not have a locking ramp. That's okay. The locking ramp helps put a little bit of pressure on the plug to hold it in and not be able to come out, but a nice tight or a nice new pinned connector will also be quite tough. Something Williams did that's great. A lot of manufacturers will do this too, but do you see the small arrow here? Might be hard to see. There's an arrow above one of these pin positions. That's where the key is. So I can install my new header and then snip the connector because I know where the key's at right off the bat. Just in case someone might not know, the key is the position that is unused and a blocker is put into the connector to ensure that you don't plug something in backwards or incorrectly. So here we're heating up the pin and heating up the pad at the same time and then introducing solder. This is a double-sided board, I think. Yeah, so there's traces on both sides. We want to ensure that we add just enough solder to allow the solder to flow through the fillet, the through hole, and get to the other side for a nice positive connection. I should, let me lower this other camera a little bit so you can see what's going on. I think we've done this enough times on this show where this might not be the most interesting action money shot, but the solder I'm using right now is much too thin for these big fat connectors, which is why you'll see me like dumping the solder into the joint. I've just been lazy and I continuously forget to order more of a thicker gauge solder, which I generally will use for this kind of work. The solder I'm using here is really good for like thin, small traces. Like if we were replacing that NVRAM on the computer, we have a nice small gauge solder, so we don't add too much to those small traces. This is a much larger trace and it is dumping a lot of solder into it. The goal is here to apply enough solder to hold the device to the board, to travel through the board to make a connection with the other side if necessary. And generally what that entails is you'll end up with a little peak with the pins being like the top of the mountain and the solder being like a nice little gentle run up to that mountain. Less is more generally when we're doing solder. Those all look okay. Again, I don't have a moto, so she can't focus, but you know, just a little bit. Nice, happy little mountains. Soft-boiled egg. Hey, thanks for getting that sub off to one of our other friends here. Hado Joe. Hello. Hado J. Hado J. I can't read. Sorry, the screen is like really far away from my face right now. Lots of problems happen when you transition Roadshow to LEDs. Sometimes those things can pop up. A lot of the times, not ragging on anyone, a lot of the times those could be self-inflicted, but also Roadshow's an old game. Taking things apart, swapping lamp sockets is you can cause all sorts of issues. Okay, we've got a couple more to change out. 1, 2, 3. These are power for coils, I'm pretty sure. So we know this one's burnt up. That one's extra bad. This is another GI connector, and this is another GI connector. So we're going to remove these 3. Let's just do them all. We're here. It's not going to take long. Get it done. I need to inspect the wiring harness because there is a pass-through from like the power connector down into this thing for general illumination. Like I know it's shared, so we might just change that one because some of them are pretty tarnished. But the ones that are tarnished don't look like they're pass-through for the GI. I don't remember how it's wired, but I guess the parts are cheap. When in doubt, just do it. Let's get the really burnt one out first, and then we'll go and inspect those connectors. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to prop this thing up somehow, and we are going to we're going to heat the pin and then extract it using some flush cutters. So I'm just heating the pin and then prying it up out of the board. It's the safest way to get these things out without causing more damage. What's a good view for this? None of them are very good, really. I guess the extraction view is better, so I can keep it like this, sort of. Ha! Thank you, Dragger. Look at even Mr. Tucky himself now has a subscription to our channel. I feel like I've actually made it now. It's funny if you think about it. Todd is absolutely like one of pinball's like media pioneers in the sense that Todd has been making these videos for a lot longer than any of us realized. Looking on his channel and seeing him go through some of the really early stuff he was doing on VHS tapes is really incredible. Genuine awesome fella. You know, Todd, if you're still here, I found a video you posted a few years ago, and I remember watching it a while ago, but it was really awesome to see. One year when you went to Expo, and you recorded going through Expo, this was in the 90s, but then also the walkthrough of the Data East Pinball Factory. That was really fascinating. I've seen the Williams Pinball Factory
bazillion times in videos and stuff like that, but seeing the Data East factory was really fascinating. Oh, that's the key. That's why it wasn't coming out. Da-da-da-da. I had to go to Applebee's. Excellent. Soft-boiled egg. Yeah, I prefer to use everyday tools because I realize that a lot of the stuff that I do have some more expensive, specific tools like that desoldering iron. That's a $300+ tool. And to be honest, it's not worth using in this job, but to also show that people can do these sorts of jobs without buying extremely expensive specialized equipment. You know, it does take a bit of practice. I think a lot more of pinball repair is practice. Practice absolutely makes perfect. And knowing the safe or the preferred ways to do some of these things, but you know, it's just, you don't need to have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tools to do some of this stuff. Basic stuff, right? Now, if you're trying to diagnose like logic boards and stuff like that, and you know, you do need oscilloscopes and stuff like that, you know, when you really get into it, but for the most part, pinball can really be done with some relatively basic tools. Now, this job itself is a little bit involved. It seems rather simple, but it is kind of an involved job in the sense that not only are we replacing damaged components on the board, but we also need to be able to identify damage. I don't think this is damaged, but I do see there's some goofiness going on with the traces. See that black mark right there? We want to make sure that that is connecting and okay. We can also see a lot of nasty, melty schmuck right there, like where my finger is. We just want to make sure that all of this stuff ends up being okay. So this could entail, this connector could entail busting out the fiberglass brush because these are awfully damaged. We ripped a little bit of a pad off here while I was scraping with the screwdriver. It's unfortunate, but that's the kind of stuff we need to examine before we just start going gung-ho and installing new stuff. Let's bust out the fiberglass brush really quick. Fiberglass brush is going to allow us to use like very high grit sandpaper essentially to shine up these connections. So when we took some of these pins out, this is the way they came out. And I don't know if that's melted plastic or if it's the fillet. I think it's melted plastic. We'll get our, one thing we can do to ensure that these things are okay is we can just grab our meter and we can buzz the connections. Hey, no problem, mate. This is my favorite way to, this is especially my favorite way to work on this kind of stuff that is damaged. When we're dealing with damage, taking the long way it can really save you a lot of time. So that's good. We've ripped off the fillet there, but it's good. Let's okay, so the fillet is missing. Let me just confirm that. No, it's not. It was just crappy down there, so I wasn't getting a good connection with the meter. Okay, so I think it's just the coloration of the board, the burned bits that make it look like the traces are missing. Otherwise, we're all good. A hardtop is a very involved installation. Hardtop is not a beginner's job, but it's a lot less involved, I suppose, than like a full playfield swap. But just take it slow. One thing I try to always remind people on this show, and this is kind of like an anti-opinion of a lot of people in the pinball world, especially nowadays, is pinball doesn't need to be perfect. I can't tell you how many times you go to a pinball show and you see like the shiniest, nicest, insert very desirable, restorable game here, right? A very nice theater of magic. And it's just brutal. It doesn't play very well. And then you go play like some clapped out, nasty theater of magic, and it's just like the best playing game you've ever played. So don't feel like your game is not worthy because it is not in good condition. As long as it plays well, that's really what matters. Lifted up a pad there. Pads do like to lift up when they've been damaged by heat. So then this is something you kind of got to, this is a job that you do have to be careful doing. It is pretty simple, but you have to be careful. I think it looks okay, even though we've got that one lifted pad there, but it's okay because it's on the back. We need a 10-pin connector, so that means I need to remove one pin off of this guy. Since we're not, so let's say we did rip out some fillets, or let's say this isn't necessarily like a GI connector. One thing you can do when you do rip a fillet out of a board, and you need to ensure that the solder will flow from the bottom through the pin and up onto the top side of the board, is brush it with flux. Get your brush and just get a bunch of flux all over those pins, and that'll help. Not a bunch, right? Less is more. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Put some flux on it. That'll help the solder wick its way up to the top of the board. These do have fillets, it seems, so I'm not going to worry about it. But we will install this new header in here. Excellent. I'm going to quickly solder this guy in. Remember, we're heating the pad and we're heating the pin at the same time. And then bringing the solder into that point. And that's how we make a really good, strong solder joint. We don't want to heat up just the pad and leave the pin cold, because then the solder is not going to adhere to that pin and create a solid connection. That is what people will refer to as a cold solder joint. Come together, go. Why are you not melting solder? There we go. Okay, I've held that on there for way too long. There it goes. I'm gonna change the position of my iron. I'm gonna lay it down a little flatter, so the conical shape of the soldering iron tip is kind of laying on the pad and against the pin. That way we can transfer more heat into the joint. Don't breathe this in. That's why you're hearing me blow after I finish each joint. One day when I have my own shop, I'm going to have my own fume extraction hood and everything. All right, ain't so bad. Let's cut those. Keys here too. Sometimes when you cut a key, the thing will friggin' fly across the room. So I'm gonna make sure I get the cutters on the right one. I'm gonna put this housing on top and snip, and it's still shot out through this thing like a rocket. Well, whatever. I'm gonna cut this key once I. Am I gonna replace this one? I need to replace that one. That one probably should be replaced. I'm just going to cut the key. Let me inspect. So it looks like the furthest left pins are passed through from the GI. What is on the furthest left pin on this guy? I wish I had the manual. I have an Elvira manual at home, but we're going to replace J9 as well. J10 looks okay. J9 is burnt up and is much more tarnished, so we'll replace one more. I think I'm tripping. This is something I used to do when I actually fixed pinball games for a job. It was just like an assembly line thing. You just kind of go in. I just knew what to do. It's been so long. I'm gonna get my cutters on the pin here. Get it ready to yank off. Heat the pin up. With a little bit of flux on there, it melts really quick, and then we just angle it out. If you're doing this, don't put a ton of pressure. Don't start really trying to lever that pin out until you know it's hot. Because if you start to lever it out before it's fully melted all the way, you will rip the fillet out. You want to ensure that the whole thing's nice and warm and will come out with ease. So I'm watching it melt here on the back. Put a little pressure. It's starting to move a little bit. I'm going to keep it hot, and then you'll feel the point where it just lets go. And it is easy to get out. All this stuff takes practice. I feel like a broken record. Whenever we do board work, I always just say, it takes practice, try it, you'll get good at it. And it does, but let's get this out. We want this thing lighting. The next step after this, before we put this board back into the cabinet, is to ensure that we don't have any other cracked solder connections on any of these headers. Again, because we don't want to take it out 3-4 times. So let's work it all out now. All right, that one came out super simple. Yes, I do just work on pinball for fun. I do it for work sometimes. I'm just too busy. I only leave myself a couple days a month for service calls now because before I was working too much and it was driving me insane. And it made me not want to work on pinball games because I felt like I had to. Now I do it for a few people here and there. I may have had some foul words to say about this solder sucker before. It's actually not that bad. Actually kind of like it. All right. That one seems happy. Let's cut down another one of these headers. We need this many pins. Cut it nice and clean so it doesn't look all jankified. All right. These holes I got super clean, so the thing kind of wants to fall out. That actually looks like it's being pinned in, but we'll double check. So what we're going to do is we're going to solder one in and then look. Take a look-see, make sure it's flat and flush and not cockeyed. It's actually a bit cockeyed, so I'm going to use my flush cutters, just my bench cutters that I like to keep around, and try to what we'll do is we'll heat up that one pin that we soldered in and then push with the cutters to get it to sit flush and flat, and then let it heat up. There we go. So now we have a flat and flush connector. The other ones I knew were sitting in flat because of the way the board was positioned, but this one didn't feel right. So you use one pin to tack it in, and then you will just go and double check, make sure it's flat. If it's not, you heat up the one pin, flatten it, and then let that pin solidify and it won't move again. I wonder where the Hekamoto is. She said she would be back today. Well, she's gone. Get this nice and warmed up. I can't tell you how excited I am to see the new James Bond, the 60th anniversary edition. That's going to be really cool. Okay, super rad. Look at that. All right, we've got all sorts of nice new headers. We're gonna cut the key off on this sucker. It looks like it's this pin. Get out of here. All right. Ta-da. Got new GI headers. For our beautiful, wonderful, fantastic Elvira pinball game. The one to the cabinet doesn't look that bad. The reason it doesn't really look that bad is because it's running 2 lamps instead of 20 lamps, and that's why they don't start to tarnish nearly as bad as the ones that were for the playfield. I'm gonna really quickly go spray some flux remover all over these old connectors and get that flux off, and we'll inspect the rest of this board. Sweet. All right. Flux is what helps solder melt. And there is flux in solder. This whole nasty little bin is full of flux, paste flux. And this is a flux remover that gets rid of the residue, leaves the board fluxless. Soft-boiled egg hit it on the freaking head. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. No, that is not true. Do what you love and get overwhelmed trying to help everyone spreading knowledge and working way too hard. Yes, that is absolutely true. That is the story of my life every other year for the last 12 years. Komodo, sorry she's late. No, I'm not starting over. Sorry, dude. You can get in here. We got this. All right, otherwise, let's take a look-see. I'm going to see if I can identify any cracked solder with a naked eye before I get my magnifier. I don't see any, and that's actually kind of suspicious, so I'm going to grab my magnifier, jeweler's loop. The jeweler's loop. Very important tool. I also have really god-awful vision, so I am blind. Surprisingly, these actually all look just fine. The factory solder job is actually shit, but whatever. Nope, I'm not supposed to swear. Sorry. Yeah, this all looks fine. We're looking for cracked solder. We're looking for
a ring around the pin that is a nice big crack that shows that the pin is not making perfect or is not encapsulated by the solder. That is bad. We don't want that. We want them to be one happy little unit. I'm gonna pop out one of these fuses. They all look like they're 8s, but we don't. We'll let one be the judge, and I'll judge the rest. It's a 5, and they're all supposed to be 5. Okay, we're good. Where did I get that bottle of flux remover? I don't know. Mauser? DigiKey? Some website that sells flux and other sorts of electronic stuff. It's just, this is a real common brand, just MG Chemicals. This stuff is expensive, so use it sparingly. I used it in a wasteful way because I don't have my flux off toothbrush, but usually I'll just have a crummy old toothbrush that is for removing flux only. I'll like rubber band it to the bottle. So that way you can hold the board flat, give it a spray, and then use the toothbrush to remove a lot of the stuff without just going and letting it drip off. You'll save yourself a little bit of money that way. And that's usually a good thing. So this is great. This is all good. Let's put this back together. And the next step is going to be rebuilding those connectors. I'll probably do one on stream. And then we will maybe I'll do the rest of them next week off stream. I think it might be fun, since it is 4:10, to jump into the game. And let's just take a look at the rest of the game and then power it up. We've done connectors a bunch. This is a topic that has been absolutely covered a million times. Just 3 of my favorite games that I own right next to each other, right there. 2001, Lady Luck and Viking. It's actually kind of funny. That was a Jim Patla game, Viking. And Jim Patla actually worked on Elvira a bit too. Jim Patla became, when he stopped designing games and became, I forgot what he did at Williams. I think he was the head of engineering or something like that. I don't remember that's basically what he did, but I don't remember what his exact title was. I was very lucky. I got to meet the fella. One of my favorite designers, a guy that has worked on electromechanical and solid state games. There's not very many designers in the pinball world that worked on electromechanical and solid state pinball. And it's an interesting topic to talk to them about. I put it in upside down. I'm an idiot. I find it to be a fascinating topic. Games are just so different. You know, the first couple solid state games from every manufacturer absolutely did not fully take advantage of the power of a computer, if you will. They were definitely electromechanical-esque games with electromechanical-esque rules. And then you had games like, I think Strikes and Spares is one of the first games that had a memory. So, you know, if I was player 1 and I got if I rolled, Strikes and Spares being the Bally game we've worked on before, a bowling theme. If I ended up with a 7-10 split and then I ended the ball, right? Then the next player would come up on their first ball and they'd have a full rack of pins to knock down. And then when it was my turn again on ball 2, it would reset to my same exact 7-10 split. For me to start with my my lit rollovers. And that is definitely where, I think that was one of the first games, if I remember right, that actually took advantage of the power of a computer. And Strikes and Spares is definitely one of the earlier solid state games that Bally did. There's a little bit of pinball trivia for you. Even though it's not really conclusive trivia, but whatever. You know what I mean.
Yes, Jim Patla did do Centaur. Pretty cool. Really nice guy. He did some of my favorite EM games. Boomerang. Bally Boomerang is one of my faves. I'm so glad. Like, just a couple years later, like in the WPC times, Williams was like, they made this so much damn easier. All of these things are like totally encapsulated screws, right? So you have to remove them 100% to remove the boards. A few years later, they just made them keyholed, so you would just have to loosen them, push the board up a few millimeters, and then you could slide the board out. These are just always such a pain in the butt, especially like when you're working on the MPU. That thing's gigantic pizza. You have to like balance it while you're trying to get it out. Oh, Amoto's coming. I see her trying to log into Zoom right now. Yeah, come on, Amoto. Hey. Where's her face? Oh, it's spooky. I wonder where Amoto is. Oh, there she is! Hello, Amoto. We missed you.
I made it.
Everyone who left because Amoto wasn't here, everyone come back now because she's here. I'm going to enjoy some delicious water here. Amoto, you missed it. We unsoldered things and then we resoldered them back in.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I'm sure it is. Let's take a look at this really quick just because this shows kind of what the interconnect board is too. Do you see this harness? It's super small. Switch rows or columns and rows. It's like the shortest little harness, and all it does is just go right in here and plug in. Traditionally, these would have just gone straight to the playfield, and if you needed to remove the playfield or head, you'd have to unplug all of these things and route it back down. So that's why the interconnect board is pretty sick. Here's our lamp row and columns. It's actually kind of the move to get the ones on the bottom first because they're easier to see when you don't have a bunch of plugs stacked on top of each other.
Yeah, it's so good.
Here's our switch rows and columns for the playfield in this hand, and those go right here. I don't know where these go, but they only go one place. If you were here looking, it would kind of make sense. Here's another, this is another switch and column plug, but this is for the cabinet. Remember, when you design a pinball game and you wire a pinball game, you have multiple harnesses. You have your head harness, right? A harness that exists solely in the head, or multiple that might be made up of multiple harnesses, right? So something like your power supply, right? This exits the power supply and then goes and feeds everything that needs 5s and 12 volts. That only lives in here. You've got your insert harness. Your insert harness is this for all of your feature lamps and all of your GI and all of your flashers, right? And that comes in here and attaches into the head. You've got your playfield harness, which is made up of multiple harnesses, right? Like GI, feature lamps, switches, solenoids. You've got a cabinet harness. So there's a lot of harnesses in pinball. Is that interesting, or is that the boringest thing I've said all day?
No, isn't there some trivia around that? Like how many feet of wiring there is in an average pinball machine? And it's like 3 miles.
Yeah, I mean, Gary always said it was miles and miles, and I believe that. Especially in games, like older games that need, wires to go up, down, backwards, forwards. That one probably goes here. Hold on. This one, I want to make sure I plug it in right. So this one says plus 12 on the left and ground on the right. Gray is generally going to be your
gray and yellow is plus 12 in Williams-E's at this era. So even though it's a 3-pin connector, I know that gray goes on the left. Only the middle is keyed, which is a little bizarre. We've got our playfield lamps that plugs in down here. We've got insert cabinet lamps that go there. What else we have? We have flash lamps, most likely. Those are keyed. Both of these connectors are keyed the same, I think, right? No? Are they different? Yeah, they're different. Okay, yeah. So you just plug away.
It's terrible.
Okay, here's some general illumination connectors. The cabinet one is handy dandy fine. This one is trashed. This one is extra trashed, the one for the insert. So that's probably the one that we'll do on camera because this one's easy to film. This one might just have residual damage from something else melting around it, but we'll still probably replace it. Plug this one back in as well. Okay. All right, sweet. So we've got a couple connectors to redo. This one most likely will be redone just because I don't like that it's browned. So we'll redo that one. This one's absolutely melted awful. So we will redo this one. And then we definitely need to redo this one, which is our AC input, which is what the GI is made of. So we definitely need to redo this one because it is very melty. Yeah. Let's start by, let's just rebuild this one and then we'll move on. So, yeah. Yep, this is the first time I've ever done this on the show. This is why no one watches our show, because I just do the same things over and over again, so I never have to...
That's pinball maintenance and repair.
It is.
Repetition.
Repetition.
Repetition is good for learning.
It is. It's true, though. A lot of pinball repair is just the same crap over and over again, which is fine, because once you learn how to do some of that crap, it happens pretty quick. I'm trying to see, I know I have some, I forgot my parts box, but I know that I have some 156 keys in one of these boxes of parts that I just leave laying around.
Hello, Squalito. Welcome.
You know what, when Andrew Barney gets here, I'm going to give him a bunch of junk pinball parts.
Aw, he's gonna be so excited. He's gonna be like, how dare you call these junk?
No, he sends me treasure. I'm going to send him junk.
Oh, well, that's a one-sided relationship.
It's abusive.
I know, Kyle's invisible. I wish Kyle was invisible when he was doing, like, pinball repair up in the game, so that we could see through him and what he's actually doing, rather than just seeing his mittens and shit.
Dude, I
But
swear...
he's only invisible when he's looking for parts in this part box.
Oh, I have like 4 parts bins that are just kind of like scattered all over the place. I need to clean some of that crap up.
Do you know the nut size on Pirates of the Caribbean for JJP?
For what?
The nut, which nuts? These nuts. Put them in one of those green screen suits. I know.
You're setting
Jack
me up for
Baker
these
is the
nuts
best.
jokes?
Kyle, can I buy you a green screen suit that you just wear?
You want me to be invisible, like, all the time?
No, but you could be a floating head for Elvira.
Oh, if only.
One of the deadheads.
I would have made a hilarious addition to Elvira, I'm sure.
The
Well-
one holding the wire form.
No, I don't know what it is, but it's going to be one of 2 sizes. It's probably 832 or it's either 832 or 1032. That's my most likely guess. I don't know where my keys are, so now I feel bad, but whatever. All right,
here's Kyle's simplicity tips. Hold on. Actually, I want to get a towel too. I need to find a nice dirty rag. Where can I find that? Here we go. The perfect rag for my raggy activities. Oh, there was a rag right there. I didn't even need to go get one. Well, whatever.
Hello, Broadnecks. Thanks for joining. Ooh, look, he's got a loose flip.
Andy just flying all over the
Maybe
place.
Loose Flip will continue to stream until we're done so we can go raid Germany.
It's getting late in Germany. I don't think Andy is awake right now.
He was streaming.
Oh, he was?
5 seconds ago, yeah.
Oh, well, maybe he'll keep streaming. He doesn't sleep. He's cool. Cool guys don't sleep.
I know, we go to sleep really early, don't we, Kyle?
I don't go to sleep early. Wow. Thank you. The drill bit probably like 130 seconds, so you can never find it.
Here are my tools for redoing a connector. We have
A wire stripper. Oh,
Wait.
here, change that camera. We got a wire stripper. Ooh.
Awesome.
we've
So
got
beautiful.
Some
Marco
flush
blue.
cutters. Ooh.
Almost Marco blue.
we have a crimpy guy.
Maybe we should change to navy.
Ooh.
Nice.
And we
Is
have
that the crumpy Mr. Baxter sent you as a gift?
yes, but I left it at work because I let one of my coworkers use it.
Aw, that was nice of you.
Yep, she was making some harnesses.
And it's pretty easy. We
Yeah.
have pins.
Awesome.
And we have a connector. So Kyle's pro tip to save money. Don't buy connectors of the size that, oh, here, wait, hold on. Don't do that. There you go.
That doesn't change the focus.
Oh, the focus? Oh, sorry. Here's don't buy
No,
like
do you
9
think
pins
Yeah, because we have a video on that coming too, so this is great.
and 7 pins in like exact sizes. You don't need that. Just buy the big one. And then you only need to carry one, stock one, and you can cut it into whatever size you need. Bam, look at that. You don't need to order a bunch of SKUs and have a bunch of
other size things. I don't know. That's just what I do. So we need one that is this many pins wide. One that's about yay wide. So I'm gonna cut here. Give it a snip. I'm gonna come over here and give it a snip. It's this easy with some flush cutters. You can turn a 20 pin into a whatever pin, just like that.
But you can't. Well, and you can also go in reverse too, right? Like if you cut it too short, then you can re-add.
Yeah, but I wouldn't do that like unless you really need to. There are some sizes sometimes that are just like unobtainium. Like for whatever reason, if you had to do this like super jumbo boy here, like you probably couldn't get one that's this many connectors, so you would need to stagger them somehow. But
So don't mess up. Ideally.
make sure I cut that right. Yep. Okay, cool. So we have a connector. We have an old connector, a really grody, nasty, stinky one.
So
Oh, you know-
Ronnie, Drager says Kyle's other pro tip: after you drink half of your beer, add water, and it'll last twice as long.
Dragger is totally right. That is absolutely how I live on my austerity level budget. You know? I can't believe I don't have any keys. I swear to God, there's a damn bag that is just. full
Oh,
of
I didn't
keys.
even have my audio on in here. How are they hearing me? Do you have the TV up? Am I going to echo? Oh, they were hearing me through your computer from like 500 feet away,
Really?
I guess. Thanks,
Oh, wow.
Jogger. I just jumped in and was excited.
Oh, wait, no one
To
could
learn
hear
about
your logo
connectors.
The whole time?
No, I think I was just really soft like a little mouse. Look
Wow.
for your keys in your pocket.
I do have my keys in my pocket.
These are Trifurcon pins. I generally don't like to use these on anything but the illumination
Oh, wait.
stuff, but That's what they are. The trifurcon pins connect in 3 places. You see those little wings that stick up?
Yeah.
Those
Why don't you
add
like
more
using them?
contact patch.
Why don't you like using them except for GI?
Because
Usually.
they don't fit into the connectors as well sometimes.
Hmm.
But I don't know. That's probably just me being a weenie. Anywho,
Let's take this connector. We know that it installs right here in this orientation, and we are going to start building this connector from the leftmost pin to the rightmost pin. We're going to yank it out of the IDC connector. We've got a really burnt wire. We don't want to use this burnt and oxidized and nasty BS wire. Let's strip it. Let me show you what this looks like before we cut it. We want nice shiny copper. We don't want this dull.
What if it's burnt all the way through?
This is burnt all the way through. This is bad as bad as it can get.
No, but I mean in the wire, like if you keep stripping it and it's just
it won't.
black
Well,
and
if it's
yucky
burnt
all the
that
way,
much,
or
then
it
your
doesn't.
game's probably caught on fire. So.
And that could happen, maybe.
Wait, someone says my voice is screwed up now. Oh, you know why?
Okay.
No, hey, turn off the thing that says emergency mic. No, scroll down.
Oh, so they were hearing me through the emergency mic.
Yeah, scroll down. All the way. Yeah. So, oh, look how quiet it is, though.
They were hearing you through the emergency mic the whole time. Oh my gosh. Alright, I'm back and figure it out. This needs to go up to like 10, 11. Okay. Now you should be
Can you guys
good.
hear me now, or is it not good?
Can you turn yours up a little?
Yeah, I just turned it up more. Does this sound okay? Am I audible? No? Yes? Hello?
No,
Not good?
not. He's honest. Keep talking, Kyle. I'm adjusting your levels over here.
I don't know. I mean, something must not be
better.
working then, because
Yeah. You shouldn't be needing to go this high.
what the heck? Wow, we haven't had, like, audio level problems in a long time. What about now? Hello. Let me try the other thing.
Yeah. Check. 1, 2.
What about this one? Can you guys hear me now? Am I audible? Can you hear me at all? We're just getting to the good part too. Oh wow, look at how peaky I am.
Oh, yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh my god.
Am I audible? Can you hear me at all?
Yes. Okay.
Huh. Okay, that other one sucked. Maybe I'll just mark that one. It sucks. Anyways, this is gross. You can feel that it's a little stiff where the insulation is less rubbery and it's more burnt. So we're going to cut that string of wire off. We don't want that wire. It's not good. And we are going to strip off a little bit here after where it has been burny. And it still looks like crap. So we're going to cut off that little bit. We're going to strip off a little bit more here.
I think I fixed it, yeah.
This one really sucks. I hate
What
having to
happens
cut
if you
them.
strip off and then it can't reach anymore? Then
Well,
you
that's
have
what I
to-
was going to say is I hate having to strip it back so much, but you got to get good wire. Wow, that bit actually sucks also. Holy crap. There's a bit of leeway, like, you know, I could cut bits of the zip ties and the harness to pull this a little bit better, but we want to make sure we get good wire.
And you only need, what is that, like a centimeter of exposed wire?
Yeah. This is too much.
Oh.
But it's a
Looks
bit
like
better.
Not a lot. And you do one by one so you don't mess up the order,
Yeah, it's just
right?
I find that I don't screw up as much if I do them one by one.
Sense?
There are some games that have like charts that say which wires go where. And like I will utilize those, but I'd prefer to just do it exactly as the harness used to be, right?
Do you just
Sometimes
knock
when
on wood?
one thing that I do see people do sometimes, and it's like a bit wasteful, but we could kind of demonstrate it here, is sometimes people will cut them like this.
Ah,
And then what
Yeah.
that ends up is you have a plug with just like a centimeter or two of reference. And since this like is going to end up getting cut shorter anyway, so everything is the same length, hell with it. I'll just do it.
And then you turn that burnt connector piece into art.
Yes.
Let's make it a necklace.
All
Give
right,
it to
so we
Serene.
need a green wire here. And that's kind of okay when we're dealing with burnt wires. I wouldn't hate on that technique since these are burnt, icky wires anyways, and they would need to be shortened no matter what. So
Oh, good point, Digerati. If you're colorblind, you better do them one by one. Do you know there a lot of people don't realize that they're colorblind?
interesting.
Because
mean,
it's not
I guess-
just you would see black and white, but maybe you can't see certain hues of colors.
Yeah, I guess how the hell would you know unless you like went to a eye doctor or
Right.
something? I guess you could be colorblind and have perfect vision. I've been subjected to many vision tests. I know that I'm not colorblind. Or how do I know? How do I know that maybe colorblind people actually see things the way they actually are?
I think you might be onto something there.
Who knows?
Or your doctor was colorblind and didn't diagnose you because they too thought the sky was blue. When in fact,
Yeah, you idiots, it's
dun, dun,
actually red.
dun. Red sky.
All right, and this is how you do something that you could probably get done in like 35 minutes, and it takes you an hour and a half when you have to talk about it a lot. But I like talking with you guys, so I will always do it that way.
No, this is great. Roller Pinball said your significant other will surely tell you.
Well, she's infinitely smarter and better than me
Yeah,
in
your
every other
significant other's
possible
an
way.
artist, so she definitely knows color palettes and hues of the world.
Red.
You can't get a driver's license in Croatia if you're colorblind,
Really?
but you can in the US.
Oh yeah, definitely can in the U.S.
Wait, but then, oh, well, I was going to say, what about if you're looking at a stoplight? But I guess it's always in the same order, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, so while Kyle's doing this, just to remind y'all, January 1st opens the TWIPY voting for awards for everything that happened in pinball in the year 2022. And that voting goes on for about 2 weeks. So make sure you put in all your favorites and best of opinions.
Yeah.
And then TPF is right around the corner. We'll be at Texas Pinball Festival presenting the award show again.
You're presenting it again, Emoto?
I am.
Exciting.
If you come
I'm
to
just looking for my
TPF, do you want to
keys.
present a category again this year? You want to go on stage?
No.
Do a little dance on stage?
I'm too horrified to do such a thing again.
Didn't you have fun though?
Did I have fun? Yes. Did it cause me a bunch of emotional turmoil? Yes. I won't have Crystal. I won't have Crystal this year to give me confidence and tell bad Canadian jokes.
I mean, you may. If she comes and you come, then I'll throw both of y'all up on the stage.
All I remember is
anyone
everyone
in the chat planning on coming to TPF next year?
All I remember is I got made fun of
too.
because I walked up on stage and just said howdy.
That was the most endearing thing of the Twippies. She mean like howdy.
Howdy. Well, I'm going to plug this in without a key. But anyways, that's basically how you do that. You know what? Hell, since we're here, I'm just going to do this one too. Actually, oh, never mind.
No?
We'll do it next week.
4-4. Okay, cool.
I'll do it off camera. I'll fix all this stuff so we can really get to it. But let's actually look at the game. I like doing board work. I like getting those things done. I explained why we did the order of operations the way we do. But you guys are here for hot, broken pinball content.
Have you turned it on yet? Have you seen that?
What?
Have you turned the game on yet?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We did turn it on last week, and it does work.
Oh, I think I do remember that, actually. Howdy, y'all. No. I think he left the y'all out.
Yeah, those Texas people would just straight kill me if I said y'all or something.
Why?
They'd be like, "What? You're not a Texas boy. What do you mean?"
You're honorary.
You can't say that.
You're an honorary cowboy.
Okay. Ugh. Let's actually, did I leave? I think I left the solenoids unplugged, and that's probably good. We'll definitely we'll plug them in once we do an inspection. Let's open the game up. Let's see how disgusting this is. There has to be something that's going to make this awful, and I know there will be.
Cletus? Is Cletus there?
Oh, dude, I'm sure. We'll find out. Oh yeah, also, I'm going to keep mentioning this every time we stream.
He has a bolo tie.
This game is for sale. If someone wants to buy this game, you just let me know, and I can set something up. I have no idea how much it's going to cost, but it's, I mean, to be honest, it is actually quite a nice Elvira. It's not bad. This would end up being like a really, really damn nice, player's condition game. I guess that's what people are calling it now. I just call it like a nice pinball machine.
I forgot to put the freaking year. 1989.
The worst wear that I see is up at the top for the rollovers. Otherwise, like, this thing's actually really damn nice. I think there has to be some weird South Carolina morality thing where people thought this was too, like, evil for their children, so they just never played it. I don't know. Because you've got pop bumper wear that's really normal. Other than that, like the game has Mylar. It's a really nice Elvira. Spunky says, "I'll take it." All right, well, email me and I can figure out how much it's worth. The apron is a little damaged. The apron's actually probably the worst part.
He wants to make a trade for Bucky swag.
So put on the handheld cam, will you?
Oh, sold.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you see how the apron's kind of flaky? That's actually sad, but I guess at the end, I mean, it's nice enough. You could probably end up cleaning off like the old operator sticker or license sticker and that Scotch tape without doing much damage. It's kind of like a nice patina, but
were all of them signed on the card?
No, this is some fakey BS thing someone printed out on their printer at home.
Oh,
I will yank that out and put it somewhere else.
That adds $1,000 to
I'm sure.
Correct.
The shooter,
The rebound spring is, oh, this isn't even the right shooter rod, but the rebound spring is so compressed that you can't lift the playfield up without pulling the shooter rod.
Oh, wow.
These are nice. That's nice. There's a cash box.
Ooh, is there anything special in there? Remember when you found the treasure map?
I don't see any treasure. I see broken glass, so this game probably had a piece of glass that broke in it at some point. Oh, there's a free lock. There's the top of a soda can. If someone wants the top of a soda can.
Ooh, people collect those.
This is actually really nice. It's got the things that I notice about this game. Here, I'll bring this camera closer. Sorry, hold on. The things that I notice about this game right off the bat are there's not a ton of replacement coils in it. Nothing looks burnt. It's a little, like, corroded here and there, but that's normal for a game from the southeast because it seems like no one knows how to store these things right. There's a little bit of tomfoolery going on with the drop targets, but that's also really normal for people to muck with those springs because the drop targets have a teeny bit of grease on them from the factory, and then when that starts to wear out and sticky up, they don't fall as nice, so people will grab the springs and pull them extra tight so they fall. That's not that big of a deal. This pop bumper bracket needs to be replaced. The coil stop is not part of the bracket anymore, so we can replace that. The flippers are mangled. The springs are broken, so we will replace those. I mean, otherwise, this is a really standard and nice looking game. This will be very straightforward mechanically. I'm pretty stoked on that, really. All of the coils are original. That's really cool. It doesn't mean anything. It's just kind of neat. It's not really mucked with at all. This is a nice game. I want this game.
It looks so clean.
Yeah. I want to go to Buc-ee's.
Kyle loves Buc-ee's.
I like all the jerky. Yeah, this is actually pretty nice. Who made the playfield? Lank Smith. It's a Lank Smith playfield. That's neat. Does it have any other marks? All right, well, yeah, it's a nice Elvira. Otherwise, I think customer was okay with me doing the cosmetics. I think this game is going to end up with... Wow, there's actually a little bit of goofery going on here. I love seeing drywall screws drived into games. Oh, it's not through the playfield. Actually, it kind of is, but not really. I can fix that. This game will probably get a new set of plastics. I think this game's going to clean up nice. So it will get a new set of plastics. The problem is when you put a new set of plastics on the game, the ramps start to look like crap. The left ramp is cracked at the entrance here.
No.
There's no use replacing one ramp. You'd want to replace them both because it will look a lot better.
I don't... Where do you get Elvira ramps?
We have those.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we do. I know we do. The
Out of stock?
game is nice. This is going to clean up nice. It will get new parts, and it will be nice.
Nice.
That being said, though, I mean, there is a little bit of goofiness going on. Like the barbecue is always screwed up, this plastic cover. I'll have to see if I can get a new one. I think someone makes them. But
Trager wants to buy your old plastics.
I mean, yeah, if you want them, I can definitely provide you with